Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the Lakers played the Memphis Grizz today at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's the end of the road trip. We're 1-3 on the road trip thus far. It's been a real disaster. Anthony Davis is ailing with some type of foot thing. He's a game time decision. Of course, we know, I can get into the injury report. Vanderbilt and Wood, of course, are out. D'Angelo Russell is considered a game time decision as well. Austin Reeves, a game time decision as well. Christian Coloco is considered active, even though I'm not really certain about that. I saw that somewhere, but didn't hear it from the normal voices that say people are active. So I don't want to tell you that I'm confirming it. I'm just gonna say that I saw it was confirmed somewhere. And that was a pretty credible source. So if he's not ready to go, just mark him off as questionable. Put it like that. Yeah, and that's the injury report for the Lakers. The Memphis Grizzlies are missing Vince Williams, Desmond Bain. It's a few guys. Marcus Smart and Cam. I think his name is Cam Spencer. I don't think I'm familiar with him. He might be a rookie. That's what it's looking like for them over there. Those are the players that are out. And I think they had two guys who were game time decisions that I think are likely to play. But the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that's 4-4. They actually have a worse record than us, but you would think they would be kicking tail because they have about 4 or 5 players breaking out at the same time, 2 of which used to play for us, and Scottie Pippen and Jay Huff. Them dudes balling. But you also got to look at Santi Aldama, who's having a fantastic season. Jalen Wells, a rookie that they picked up that's just sparking from behind the arc, immediately one of the better rookies in basketball, low key, even though he doesn't really get the minutes, especially when they're fully healthy. Right now, he's been featured and he's just been splashing from behind the arc. He's been a relevant player. I picked him up in fantasy in a couple of leagues. Like, that's how relevant Jalen Wells has been. I don't think it's sustainable though, because of the presence of people coming back like Bain and Smart, but they're going to have him in rotation, just like Scottie Pippen Jr. will be in rotation at a high level. Scottie's been just putting up real numbers, man, talking like 13 and 13 assists. I mean, he's really balling. He's breaking all the way out. He's one of the best young point guards coming off the bench in the entire basketball league right now. I think there's a decent argument for him being a 6th man of the year candidate through 8 games. I think it's a decent argument for him being most improved player, even though they don't necessarily give that award to people like him, because we know they usually give that to superstars. But like, this is what I see there. I think that if he sustains this for the rest of the season, playing this well, coming off the bench in that role, he's one of the best players coming off the bench anywhere. And just think, we gave him away for peanuts. No, not even peanuts. We gave him away. We let him walk. The least we could have did was grab a peanut or 2 from somebody. But nevertheless, that's what happens with the Memphis Grizzlies. They are constantly waiting for the Lakers to drop something they have no business dropping so they can pick it up. Like Colin Castleton, who's also over there on their bench right now on a 2-way. They have fantastic scouts. Even when they're missing key role players and stars, they still have plenty of talent to compete with. And that is why I think Memphis is one of the leading teams to probably come out of the West. They're one of the top 5 teams in the Western Conference, even though their record doesn't tell you that. If they ever find a way to be fully healthy, that's exactly what they're going to be. And of course, we can't forget about Zach Edey, their what was he, 8th, 7th overall pick, somewhere in the lottery. A guy that I was hoping would fall to us because of, obviously, we need a center, and he's on a surging stretch right now. Started the season somewhat slow, but that ain't what you're seeing right now. That's not how he's going to be used tonight. He is somebody that people need to pick up in fantasy right now because they are featuring him a lot, and they're giving him the ball constantly, and he's dunking the ball powerfully, and we do not have an answer for that. We don't have an answer for that. Jaren Jackson Jr. is also healthy, will be playing tonight. And one thing I saw in the highlights is they're finding him as a trailer shooting threes. He is trailing, and they're dumping the ball to him and he's launching threes and he's not missing them. They're doing the same thing with Jay Huff. So there are two things I want us to look for in regards to the offense of the Memphis Grizzlies. The trailer 3-point shooting trailing 3-point shooting center is what I'm trying to say, and the lob, because they're doing that. Oh, and by the way, Zach Edey hit a 3 in one of the games. I saw a highlight. Switched it, no problem. So this is what we got to understand. They're big on stretch fives, but they don't shoot the 3 a lot as a team. But they're making damn sure their center is shooting it. So that's something we need to understand. They shoot very low volume. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they're very last in 3-point shooting volume. They're getting most of their points in the paint, just like the Toronto Raptors. So we need to understand that our 3-point volume needs to be up tonight. We can't shoot 25 threes or whatever it was like we did against Detroit and think we're going to compete with this team. They have more capable interior scorers. They're going to outscore us in the paint, and they're going to likely out-rebound us too. It's almost inevitable. They should kill us on the boards tonight, especially if AD is not ready to go. We have nobody that can kill them on the boards. We have nobody that can stay in front of Zach, or, put a body on Zach Edey. And quite honestly, we have absolutely nobody to keep Ja Morant out of the paint, who's just Ja Morant, one of the most athletic players in sports. I saw somewhere that I think it was Devontae Adams of the Jets said that he believes that Ja Morant is the most athletic player in all of American sports. His opinion. And I don't know that he is, but what I can tell you is he's in the conversation. I don't think that's much of an argument. And he's doing some spectacular stuff, man. I'm talking spin move layups, driving at the rim. I mean, this dude is not at all playing with the NBA. And the fact that he has a really legitimate, adequate backup point guard in Scottie Pippen means that their team is getting off ridiculous amounts of assists, with him and Scottie both looking to find others at a high volume rate. So guys like Santi Aldama, Jalen Wells, the bigs, JJ and Edey and Huff, they're all getting looks, great looks every night. Dribble penetration, kick out, dump the ball to the centers, easy dunks for Edey. Their offense looks good. Now their defense is where they're struggling, I believe. And that's why they're 4-4. They have not, they're missing some key defensive players. Obviously they have some great ones though in Marcus Smart and Jaren Jackson. But they're missing those guys right now. And it really does kind of hurt them overall defensively. So you should be able to get quality shots against them right now while this version of their team. And surprisingly enough, throughout the course of the last 5 games, they are 2-3, having blown out the Bucks and the Sixers, but have lost 2 games to the Nets and lost to the Bulls, where the Bulls attempted like 56 threes and hit over 50% or something like that. The Bulls were just raining on them boys. Believe it or not, I actually did not watch the highlights on that. That's the only game I didn't watch to the 4. But boy, did the stats glare. That 3-point shot flew, and the Bulls only got a 3-point win. Why? Because they smashed them in the paint. Memphis did. They continued to annihilate them inside. But the 3-point volume was ultimately what killed the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's why I think that shooting the 3 against the Memphis Grizzlies is probably a good idea, because they're not going to match your volume. But you can dumb it down to theirs if you shoot the way we've been shooting. And if you, like I said, this is just like Toronto all over again. They're going to try to score in the interior, and if we do what we normally do, we're going to try to score in the interior. The problem is they're probably more talented than us right now at that. So if we don't up our 3-point shooting, it's going to be bad. Now, one thing I think the coaching staff and JJ need to consider is upping Dalton Connect's ability tonight, his minutes tonight, because I think you could really use his 3-point shooting tonight. He played for Tennessee, so this is a homecoming. So I don't want us to miss a chance at potentially a good Dalton Connect game, because we're locked into this idea that he shouldn't be featured right now as a rookie. This is a golden opportunity to potentially capitalize on an inspired Connect, whose 3-point shooting is probably essential to us having the best chance to win. And given the fact that we're probably going to be running some small ball, with Anthony Davis being ailing to whatever degree, it's going to be about how well we can get quality 3-point shots and how many of them we can hit. So if you're not using Dalton Connect, then it's not going to amount to, what rhymes with that. So that's really what I think. You need Dalton tonight. It was surprising to watch the Brooklyn Nets beat the Memphis Grizzlies twice, both at home and on the road. The last game being at home, which was a close game. The one that, it was on the road in Brooklyn. It was the last game. And the one before that, which was like a week ago, they lost in Memphis. But, one thing I could say was that, the Nets were just a much improved team. And if you see a team that's surging twice in a short amount of time, you could just get bum rushed by somebody who's not going to be a good team overall, but they're having a great week, and you just happen to see them twice in 1 week. So I think that had something to do with why Memphis lost to the Nets twice. I don't think the Nets are a better team than Brooklyn, but I think the Nets are playing some of the best ball we've seen the Nets play since Kyrie and them were there. So, it was tough in a sense on the Memphis Grizzlies because, like I said, their 3-point shooting volume just is not enough to really compete like they needed to. And I think a lot of that will just kind of round back into form once they get Desmond Bane back. I think they will ultimately be a more capable 3-point shooting team. But, I think the problem is, although they have players breaking out and they got Ja down there and Triple J out there, I just think that, believe it or not, they may be lacking some team athleticism with some of the players out that they have missing and some team defense. They're leaning on some guys that are productive, but they're not particularly wiggly outside of John Morant. Jay Huff, Jake LaRavia, who else? Santi Aldama. They're not exactly great defensive players. Scotty's a bit smaller. Who else? Ja's a smaller guy. Edie's a big guy, but he's not particularly wiggly. So it's like you're seeing, for me, based on what I'm paying attention to, is a bit of a lack of athleticism with the Memphis Grizzlies, and I guess that would explain, in my opinion, why they've lost to teams like Brooklyn, who have a bit more athleticism and speed. Schroeder's going crazy, playing basically John Morant's role in Brooklyn, and just putting up crazy numbers, speeding past people and stuff like that. So they, in my opinion, aren't dealing well with athleticism and speed. I look at the Chicago Bulls. They push the pace. You got Zach LaVine healthy, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, that sort of thing. So they're not, to me, it seems like they're not doing well with teams that have more speed and athleticism. That's kind of what I gather from the Memphis Grizzlies. Unfortunately enough, the Lakers don't have any of that. We're more like them, but only a lot less depth. So, I think that Bron may be facing a little father time. I know that's like the worst thing in the world for me to say, but he just doesn't seem like he has the mobility that he had just 3 months ago in the Olympics. The mobility isn't there. I don't know if he's hiding an injury of some sort, or if he's dealing with some stuff that kind of has him a bit distracted, which is understandable given what his name has been involved in and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he's just not looking his best, and we miss some of his strength driving at the rim and that speed and that burst that gets easy buckets. He's not finishing at the rim very well, which is unlike him. He's not. He driving at the rim and pushing toward people, finishing through contact. He's not finishing through contact like he was. And I think that's a lot of why his numbers are down. And he's not shooting the 3 ball as well this year as he did last year. He was above 40% all year long. He's only had like 2 games where the 3 ball really fell. And so that's something that I'm paying attention to. LeBron just don't look his best. His assists are going. He's boarding pretty well. But he's almost like he's having the same problem D'Lo's having. He can assist very well, but the scoring is inconsistent. And a much, more capable scale, obviously, than D'Lo, but it's still like the same problem. And I don't know how much that might have something to do with adjusting to JJ's offense as well. I think that might be kind of what there is to see there. I think those guys might be adjusting slowly to what JJ's implementing, and maybe just performed better in Darvin's system. That might actually be what we're looking at with those two players. But nevertheless, man, we really need LeBron James to have a big game tonight. We're going to need him to bully in the paint. We're going to need him to get, finish through contact. And it's going to be tough, man. With Jaren Jackson down there, he's going to be all over him. Zach Edey provides so much size. I mean, the man's 7'4", for God's sakes. So the easy buckets that the Memphis Grizzlies are potentially going to get against us, if Anthony Davis isn't absolutely healthy, which I know he's not, it's going to be ridiculous. I expect offensive rebounds to be a problem, defensive rebounds to be a problem, and points in the paint to be a problem tonight. Just on paper, that's what we're looking at. So I don't particularly like this matchup for us right now with our situation as it is, especially if we're going to be implementing Koloko back in first game with the Lakers. If he plays, which I think we need him, but I don't know if we're going to get him. Unless Jackson Hayes plays completely out of his mind, we're going to be at a massive disadvantage size-wise tonight if Anthony Davis can't completely get back to being 100% healthy, which, from what I understand, he's dealing with some type of foot contusion that he says has been a problem since the Olympics, basically. But he looked great to start the season, so I don't know if there was a setback or something. But I think it would be wise to probably not bench him, but sit him for maybe 2 or 3 games, which I don't know if the Lakers can afford to do at all. Watching my fan, making sure it doesn't fall out the window here, because the screen on my window is a little uncertain, and I got the fan leaning against it. Anyway, that's not important, but yeah. So that's really what it is, man. I just think the Los Angeles Lakers at this point are just set up to fail, man. I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong about stuff like this a lot of the time, and it would be great for me to be wrong about the Lakers in regards to this game, but I just think on paper, we don't match up very well with this team right now, man. We don't, and because we, at least it didn't go out the window this time. Last time it did, but we are at a size disadvantage, and I think that size disadvantage, coupled with us not being particularly comfortable shooting a lot of threes to make up for it, could potentially leave us at an advantage. I really think that depending on how the flow of game goes, unless some things happen that don't look like they're going to happen, or unless, as far as guys being off or somebody getting hurt for the Memphis Grizzlies, I really think we need to opt into launching more three-point shots tonight, sort of like we did in the preseason, and hope for the best. I really believe that, because our defense has been porous, our offense has been porous, but our volume has been low. Shooting the 3 ball. Our rebounding has been hurting as of late on this road trip. Our motor as a unit has not been all that great. And some of our shooters have been shooting particularly inconsistently, but the ones that you want shooting more haven't been shooting enough. You talk about Dalton Connect, obviously. You talk about Rui Hachimura. Those guys have been able to score, and we haven't been asking them to. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the bench not being able to score. That's going to be something that carries forward. I don't expect that, we're going to get a whole lot out of any of those guys in the scoring column. Are not projected to be scorers. I think there's a misunderstanding about what Max Christie is, because we haven't seen much of Max Christie over the last 2 years, which contributes to why we haven't seen him play well. But I don't think he's a real volume scorer to begin with. I think he's more of a defensive guy, rebounding guy, get mine off of, rebounds and tips, maybe hit some corner threes. But driving at the rim and stuff like that, he's not projected to be a great finisher or projected to be somebody that's taking people off the dribble. And I think people thought Max Christie was that type of player. No, he's more so of a guy who's going to help you defensively and get his points as an afterthought. So he's not going to contribute to scoring even when he fully develops like that. He might have some games where he goes for 20 or something like that. That's not his game. He's a defensive guy. And so when you look down at Cam Reddish, he had his best game, 2 steals, 5 rebounds in the last one in limited minutes. I thought he really should have been ran more in the last one, probably proving himself to be much more capable of, doing what we need him to do with a guy like Gabe Vincent. So hopefully we turn to Cam and see if we could get something out of him tonight. But expecting him to score, asking him to be an offensive player is proven to be a problem for us. He doesn't particularly make the greatest decisions, not the greatest corner, 3-point shooter. It's not going to be on the offensive side that I expect much from Cam either. And our bench runs thin after that. Now we start talking about who's here. Most of our guys are in the G League. You got Bronny James, who I don't think that will get much minutes unless it's garbage time. And furthermore, you start talking about what's maybe there. If Kuroko can play, he'll be a part of the bench. Do you expect him to score? No. Connect is somebody that needs to be featured more, but for whatever reason is not being featured properly. So, you talking about Jackson Hayes, he's not going to project to score very much, although he does finish in the paint extremely well. And maybe he should be given more looks when he's on the floor, but that's not a source of offense that you can count on. It's limited to just basically scoring in the paint. And it's a lot of big guys down there tonight, so how much of that you expect him to do? It's just not a scoring bench. It's not a scoring bench. Mischaracterizing Max Christie as a player has been one of the biggest mistakes our franchise has done. Believing that they have something in him that is not there, and paying him as if he's going to be able to do things that he's not projected to do. Now, I don't have a problem with him per se, but the piece is not what you need. You need his scoring more so than you need what he does on this bench next to those players that you have on this bench. And that's my issue with the Lakers. We made a video about it last night. Just slapping certain stuff next to each other that doesn't have any business being next to each other, and then just saying, let's go out there and make it work. It ain't gonna work. And that's really what it comes down to. So the Lakers are having some struggles. We're coming off of losing to the Detroit Pistons, where we got smothered by just more capable athletes driving at the rim, outplaying us, playing with more energy. And I thought we came in slow, as somebody else described, as if the Detroit Pistons was just going to hand us the basketball win. And that's not real in this league, especially with teams that only won 14 games last year but are much improved. You're going to have to take the win from them. And I just thought that we didn't give it the go that we needed to, and we made some poor decisions in trying to capture the win in the fourth quarter, letting Anthony Davis run around on that foot when he was clearly ailing bad. So Austin Reeves, he's been getting to the line very well, but defensively he was exposed, and offensively his scoring has been inconsistent, and his shooting has been, inefficient. So you look at, D'Lo Russell, and he's pretty much been in that same boat, exact same boat, getting assists off, but your scoring ain't coming from him. He's shooting a lot, but ain't nothing falling. So it's just, it continues, And there goes the screen. Fell on the ground. But that's what the story has been for the Lakers. You're just not getting from this team any scoring consistency at this point from the bench or the starters. From player to player to player, Anthony Davis is the only person that we can legitimately count on to play consistently on both sides of the floor. Everybody else is significantly inconsistent on both sides of the floor in this road trip. So, one thing that I said was trying to assess this team. Who are we on the road versus who we are at home? We're a great team at home, it seems, but on the road, we're a bad team on the road. And that's what I was worried about. That's exactly what I was worried about when assessing this basketball team. So who are we on the road? And so as we go forward, a lot of that has been skewed by the fact that we've been a bit injured. But at the end of the day, those injuries aren't really telling the story. More so just our inconsistency with what we have and our lack of depth to make up for those injuries. So we're asking injured players to play. Salute to Kobe Minute is what's telling the story. So, man, Lakers, I I'm in a space as a Laker fan where I just think we're breaking even as it pertains to what I expected to see. We started off hot with those 3 games, and then we really had a bad road trip, which is kind of what you expect in a way. Road trips are a little tough, especially when they're so early in the season. But I think it's a good test for us to kind of get certain things out the way. And usually you have to wait until December and January to actually experience the road trips like this, where we go in the Eastern Conference and do the hotel thing and all of that. The team is growing closer through these trials. The trials are coming early enough for us to figure ourselves out no matter what the reality is going to be. But one thing we do have to do is find a way to generate some scoring consistency again. We are supposed to be a good offensive team. We have good offensive players in our starting lineup. Our scoring has to be consistent because our defense on paper is not expected to be. And so that's what I want to say about this LA Laker team. We got to get it together as it pertains to our scoring. And our defense is something that we need to improve, but just we're going to be limited regardless. So 3-point volume needs to go up. And we really do need to find some consistency out of our point guard position with D'Lo Russell. If he could become who he's expected to be on a normal basis, which is somebody who could at least go for 20 points and 7 assists and 6 rebounds. If he could just give us that production every night, which he hasn't been able to, then suddenly we find ourselves in a space where we could at least count on him and Anthony Davis doing just enough to make it work for everybody else. Austin Reeves going to have to heal up from what he's dealing with. I can expect this, a little more consistency from him, but because his shooting is all over the place, he's not necessarily providing what I need. I need more efficiency from him. If he could just shoot above 45% from the field at least, you know what I mean, instead of so many bricks and 3-point shots, bricks, and all this different stuff that's really kind of prevalent with Austin. He's drawing fouls, but sometimes, he's hunting fouls and not getting them and stuff like that. So, Austin's been one of our better players, no doubt, but we live and die with his consistency offensively, and he's going to have to find himself out there besides getting to the line. He's going to have to find himself. And then, of course, I say Rui Hachimura needs to be featured more. I just don't think we're featuring him properly. I think he's been one of the most, improved players as it pertains to what we saw to start the season. And with him giving us 20 and 10, we were dynamite. With him giving us 8 and 7, we're trash when we're not getting production from everyone else. So a lot of that's on him to get himself together on the road and let his game travel from our building to other people's buildings. He needs to play better, but a lot of that's also featuring him in the offense and allowing him to be an afterthought. So that's just what I want to see from Rui and from JJ Redick. I just want to see him feature Rui more, feature Dalton more, and stop leaning so much on D'Lo and others for what your offense is going to be. Obviously, featuring AD makes all the sense in the world, but if AD has to sit in order to be well for the rest of the season, then we just got to swallow some losses that come with that inevitably, so we can have him for the rest of the season, rather than him running around on an injured foot and then running into some more, Vanderbilt-like issues. Feet problems with big players are something that you don't want to play with. And so if you got to eat a loss to keep a guy healthy for the rest of the duration of the season, then damn it, that's what you do. And given the fact that we see Memphis today, we see Memphis again on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Is it the 13th? I don't know. Yeah, it might be the 13th. We know for a fact that when we come back home the next game from now, we see Philly, who is most definitely going to be without Joel Embiid, although they still got to deal with Andre Drummond. But the point is, Anthony Davis is going to be needed in the future. And while he's needed in the present, if we leave him out there to continue to struggle, it's going to cost him more time to recover, or maybe even cause us a bigger problem with the injury. So I just think you want to call this a scheduled loss, Lakers. It's the tail end of a bad road trip. You would like to at least get your second win in this road trip, but a lot of times at the end of road trips, teams don't bring energy any damn way. And so I'm kind of inclined to think that the Lakers probably won't be very energetic tonight. Kind of inclined to think that Memphis is going to run us out the gym either way. And so I probably opt to sit Anthony Davis and just call this a scheduled loss. I really do. I really do, y'all. Because I don't think in the long run, asking Anthony Davis to play in this game is going to make it so that he's healthier going forward. It's a bad road trip, but it doesn't have to be a catastrophic one if we can start asking guys to heal tonight. So I'm going to tell you something that's going to make people unhappy, but I'm probably resting people tonight, just like I did against the Golden State Warriors in the preseason. It's probably how I opt to do it. I'm just giving everybody the day off and giving the Memphis the win because we really need to get healthy, and we have a couple guys who got their butts whooped physically on this road trip. Austin Reeves, D'Lo Russell, Bron James, Anthony Davis. They're all ailing with something, man. And we know we can't compete without just one of those people. So if we end up losing any of these people, the injury or all of them, the injury, then the way that I would structure us to look tonight is probably how we're going to look for the next 3-4 weeks, and we'll lose every last one of those games. We will go on a historically bad Laker losing streak. And so for me, it's like you got to schedule a loss to get some health going, man. I don't think anybody should be playing tonight. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that we could beat the Memphis Grizzlies if we're hobbling any damn way. I don't think we can. So that's kind of where I'm at, man. John's going to run past whoever's in front of him, D'Lo, Russell, whatever. You could put Cam out there. Even your better defenders, Max, they're still going to get ran past. It's John Morant, bro. It's John Morant. And Scotty, he's on a mission to prove everybody wrong. Clearly, we're one of the teams that he needs to be getting it back at for giving up on him. I'll tell you in this camera, Scotty, I would have never gave up on you personally, bro. You'd still be a Laker if it were up to me. I would have never did none of that. But, Jay Huff, same thing, to be honest. I wouldn't have gave up on Jay Huff. He'd still be on the roster. So I just think the Lakers are outmatched tonight. And because they're outmatched tonight, it's so important that Anthony Davis play at a high level, and he's hurt. So I don't think the Lakers should really play everybody, man. I don't think they should play everybody. So I don't know if the Lakers are going to opt to do that. But I just think sometimes you just have to schedule a loss to secure health and secure the ability to compete in 4 and 5 games after this. And you don't want to stumble into looking as bad as you're going to opt to look tonight because you didn't opt to look that way in this game. So, yeah, man, I'm not saying that's what the Lakers are going to do. I'm just telling you I think that's probably what they should. But, as it stands, the Lakers are going to be playing tonight, 5 o'clock. The Memphis Grizzlies are expected to wear their white Vancouver Grizzly jerseys from back in the day, which is going to be kind of cool to see. I think they have an alternate floor for that. They did last year. So we'll see if that's on the floor tonight. And your Lakers will be wearing your purple road uniforms against the Memphis Grizzlies. Hopefully, just make it out this thing healthy, man. This has been a very, very rough road trip, both on the court, off the court, with some of the stuff that's going on with our backup center there and his off the court issues. So Jackson Hayes is who I'm referring to. It would be great if guys just break out and have a fantastic game. Maybe you get like a monster game out of somebody like Dalton Connect. Could really go a long way in making us competitive tonight. The coach has to be willing to put him on the floor. I wonder if Max Christie's going to not permanently, but for the time being, be in the doghouse. He only got 4 minutes in the last game, so that's a little concerning to me. I just don't think that is not the way to go with Max Christie. Because Max Christie is playing poorly because people did that. They just didn't play him. His whole career, he just hasn't been given opportunities to learn, make mistakes, show what he can do. People misdiagnose who they think he is because they ain't seen him. They ain't seen him because people keep benching him. When he plays poorly, he's an underdeveloped player with a lot of upside on the defensive end, rebounding the ball, and he's got to define who he is. And if people keep giving him 4 minutes because they don't like what they see, he's never going to be able to develop and prove himself to be what he is. I'm not out on Max Christie. I was never confused about Max Christie, though. He's a second-round guy that we picked up. He's second round. I don't know what people expect from a second-round guy a lot of times, but certainly not to be the greatest player ever. You know what I mean? And he has to develop. He was a young guy when we drafted him, a rookie. one-year college guy who was struggling in college shooting the ball. So it's like, people think Max is one thing. I don't think he's that, but I definitely like Max, and I want him to develop. And if we're going to have so many underdeveloped players getting benched because they can't produce, how the hell are they ever going to produce? You just can't expect guys to wake up one day and play well for you without actually being given opportunities to. So that's why I'm like, man, benching Max is just not the right call. You got to give him even more minutes, and you got to live with his mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and teach him how not to make them. That's literally it. And not just being unhappy with what you see because he's not Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or some stupid crap. So that's my take on Max Christie, man. I need people to get their act together in regards to that young fella. Play him regularly, whether you like what you see or not, and take advantage of his athleticism on the defensive side, which will give you a better chance of defending some of these people who keep running past your front court guards. I mean, your little back court is what I'm trying to say. These guards, are not able to defend, so they're not giving you much offensively anyway. In Austin's case, D'Lo's case rather, Austin too for that matter. We're getting no efficiency out of either one of those guys on either side of the floor. So for me, it's like, play Max more, take advantage of his ability to keep in front of people defensively, and just live with the results, man. If he turns the ball over, if he's missing shots, that's just what comes with him. So that's my take, man. I just want us to not bench Max Christie. I get it. I ain't been happy with him either. He's been awful out there. But I know why. He hasn't had the minutes to prove himself or learn from his own mistakes. So that's really what it is, man. Lean into the young guys a little more, man. Lean into the young guys a little more. For better or for worse. Give our starters a break. They're ailing. They're struggling. They're not playing well. More Cam Reddish, more Max Christie, more Dalton Connect, and just live with the results, man. Those guys got to get better, and they're not going to get better sitting. They're not. Watching freaking Gabe Vincent jogging back and forth and D'Lo Russell bricking shots on. I don't even care to watch that anymore. I'd rather watch my young guys any damn way, to be honest with you. So that's what I stand with the Lakers, man. And mind you, the last two games the Memphis Grizzlies won, they blew teams out. They blew out Milwaukee and Philly. They blew them out. So that's how they've been winning their games. They're either losing or blowing people out, man. So I'm going to go get this screen. I know it's blowing out the wind, down the street right now. Hopefully it's not tearing people's cars up. I don't have high hopes for this particular basketball game. A lot of times when I felt that way, we've walked away with win. So, maybe that'll be how this goes. But I just think that, the Memphis Grizzlies double our depth. They literally double it at this point. We got so many players playing well at once. They have been losing to some teams they probably expect to win. And they're coming in and they're facing a hobbled, broken ego Laker team right now who had the wins taken out of their sails, thinking they were better than they were. And they had some real fundamental problems with their roster that was going to inevitably have them looking like this in pockets of the season until they improved it. And it gets worse from here, Lakers. Don't think this is the worst losing streak you're going to go on. You're going to have some real losing streaks if Anthony Davis go down with a real injury that he can't play through, which is why I want us to kind of rest people tonight so we don't have that problem. So we'll see what the Lakers opt to do, man. It's not gonna be pretty if we play like we did against Detroit. I'll tell you that. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.